I remember how hard it was when I was a child growing up, because at those times in Lincoln County, there were signs on restaurants and different places where Indians and dogs weren't allowed. And I grew up from that era, but I am not bitter about it. What was is what was. I know I'm limited. I can only change right now. I can't change anything a minute ago, an hour ago, a day ago, a week ago, a year ago. So I know I'm limited. So what I did was forgave all of that in my background and what happened to our people, the Trail of Tears that started here in Southern Oregon in 1856. They were all gathered up here and run north. That was it. They lived here for over 22,000 years, that they actually felt that the Creator had given them this land. It was theirs eternally, forever and forever, long as the grass grew and the water flowed. It was a hard time for my people at those times, going up through rough terrain, inclement weather, and with just moccasins on their feet that wore off eventually. And they could take one thing, and most of them just carried food wrapped in what they could carry. So then their moccasins wore out, and then the elders fell along the wayside, and the young were taught to take care of the elders, and so they'd run back and pick them up, and they were beaten until the guards told them that if they did it again, they'd just leave the elders by the wayside for the animals to eat. So it was a terrible time for them, over 200 miles of this land going north into trails where there was no trails. And I can fathom them, how hard it was. And then when they did get up to Siletz, after all that journey, got up there, and the agent had used up a lot of the money. There wasn't enough blankets to go around. Wasn't enough food, and many of them perished. It was awful. It's a wonder I sit here. And it was all different, of all the Indians together. And they had to learn, many of them, the sign language or the Chinook jargon to communicate. So it was a terrible time. They too had their sweat lodges and ritualistically believed in taking sweats and doing the sweat lodges because it was such a spiritual thing. And then they didn't have that. Many of them, they said they couldn't wear any of their regalia because they didn't want, the law at that time didn't want an uprising. They didn't want them fighting. Even when they ran out of food, they had no weapon to go hunt for anything because they took away everything. They just had the clothes on their back to a land that they didn't know which way to go to get anything to eat. Then my grandfather, Chief George Harney, walked clear across the mountains from Siletz over to Grand Round and helped them over there and worked with the people over there, to the point where they had his big, long picture inside of the Catholic Church over there in Old Town, in honor to Chief George Harney of helping the Grand Round Indians. The government from the White House said, "You Indian people, we cannot help to be funding you for housing and health and education and things. You're going to have to be more self-sustaining." So then Vine Deloria, the Congress American Indians, Ben Campbell, a lot of the political Indian people that were at that time invisible, they came together because the government said they had to do something. So then the Indians got together and thought, we have the land, if we could just build something on it. So in all of the tribal people, there wasn't televisions and radios and things for entertainment. They had the card games and the stick games and bone games for entertainment. After the war, then the Spanish left some horses. Some of the Indians, like in Klamath Falls and Chilliwack, then began to have horse races for entertainment and being competitive and creating fun to come together. So then when the Congress American Indians and all of these high people in politics said that the Indians have land and they already were gamblers, so they could put a casino up.